Hello, welcome to another edition of the Talking Basketball Podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. We're back.
We are back. We've got another guest again. They just keep popping out the woodwork.
Yeah, and today's guest, I think, is arguably one of the most unique guests that we're going to have. And it's a part of basketball that we're going to talk about that doesn't normally get talked about on podcasts, I don't think.
Terrible referee?
No, that gets talked about. But yeah, so, it's all to do with, the administration and the actual setup of the games and stuff like that. And we've got a fantastic guest. So let me go straight into it. Hang on. I'm in the northern studio here.
You are in the northern studio.
And it's one of those moments where everyone's asleep and I've got to be quiet.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
I got to do a good introduction for this guy. So I'm going to get told off tomorrow for this. Ready? Yeah, now stand and cheer. Yeah, God. Number 5, Craig Sorrell.
Probably the best intro I've ever had.
The second best intro. Take 2.
Welcome,
Craig. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And I got a good, funny little story about how I met Craig. So I met Craig through the whole FIBA GB Masters process, and one of the guys I was traveling quite regularly with was a guy called Jordan Tavers, who is also a guard, and I'm going to say probably the fastest player on the over 40s team. I can't think of anyone who's going to be quicker than him. I think he's the fastest, and he's a great guard. And he sent a video a few weeks back. He scored like 15 threes in a row. It was like, bloody hell. He's been practicing. So anyway, I got in a car and I was traveling up with Jordan. Craig was in this car, and Jordan had had listened to the podcast before. And he was like, no, Paul, you get in the front seat. Craig was driving, and he goes, right, I'm just going to literally introduce you and then sit back and listen to a live podcast, because this is what's going to happen. And he's like, Craig, Paul, Craig, go. And then literally we spoke for like 4 hours on this journey. And when we arrived, it was like, bloody hell, that was like a podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a really good trip. I enjoyed that. It went really quick.
But this is where you started talking about everything that you do in basketball, and you do stuff with the BBL, which is great. But it's really unique because you're doing stuff around the actual courts, the actual basketball floor itself.
Yeah, that's right. I get involved with the court side builds, decorating the court, running the events, everything that people don't really see on the outsides to put on the show.
So I will preface this, Craig, by saying I will look confused and quiet, which is not normally my stance, but Paul likes to occasionally bring a guest in I know nothing about.
Yeah,
Paul's
okay.
like, this is going to be a good one, but I won't tell you why. And I'm like, all right, okay. So that's it. So I know as much as everyone who's listening to this right now. So everything you're telling me is fresh. So you do all of the things around the side of the court itself, everything that's associated.
Yeah. So what I tend to do is from the minute we turn up, we might have a court already laid in place, and we might just put the decals down, all the stickers, the vinyls, get the baskets in place, put the courtside boards up, decorate the whole thing to make it look like it's ready for an event. And we might do that from just having a bare wooden floor. So that's the first process of it. And then once we've completed that, we then go into event mode and become the people who run the event. So my main role within the British Basketball League in regards to running the events is the entertainments manager. So I will be generally at the entrance tunnel where the teams will enter the court, making sure everybody's there on time, everything's in place, the halftime shows, the cheerleaders, the dancers, the
that is
t-shirt
so
cannon,
cool.
All of that side of it has to all run through me, and I have to make sure it's there on time.
And you have to be so professional with that as well, because like Matt Morgan's like running past you, and you go like, it's so tempting to be like, hey, Matt Morgan, high five, yes. But you've got to be professional.
I quite often have to put my hand in front of him, tell him to stop and wait, and just wait until I'm ready for him to go. But yeah, and everything has to run, because a lot of those games are televised now. Everything has to run to the second, so it's high pressure. There's a lot of work involved, and after you've just spent the last day building the basketball court ready for it, you're quite tired anyway. So it's a long weekend. There's a lot involved, but the achievement at the end of it, to say that you've had your part to make it happen, is what it's all about for me. I love it.
Yeah, and I actually love the story about how you got in to getting to be involved in the BBL. So this was going back 12 years with the Olympics when it was in London, and that's how your journey started, right?
Yeah, that's right. So just before London 2012, I got an email from a guy called Craig Sorrell, who worked for Basketball England at the time. And he sent an email out saying, we're looking for people to get involved and volunteer at London 2012, submit your applications, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, you know what, why not? I'm just a regular local league basketball player at that point. I love basketball. So I put an application in, didn't think nothing else of it. And then a month or so later, got a reply, an email to say we'd like you to come for an interview, and that's how it all started. And then I was given a role on the volunteers, the games makers at London 2012, as a field of play volunteer for the basketball. So I was courtside. That's how it all started.
Wow.
No, Mark, that is not even close. Ask who he was courtside for.
Who were you courtside for?
Well, I guess it depends how you look at that. I was there quite a few good games in respect to it. I mean, we were doing a job for London 2012, for the Olympics itself, but obviously being a basketball fan, every game there was someone important that was going to be there, and it was good fun. But yeah, got to work with and be on court and alongside lots of big idols of mine in particular, but the likes of Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka was a big one for me.
So no one we've heard of then.
No, none of them.
No. Backwater players. Wow, that must be pretty intimidating when you realise you've gone from doing that and then suddenly you're like this big arena, huge televised event. Oh, and by the way, there happens to be some idols there.
Yeah, I'd say it was a surreal moment. There's no doubt about it. I was just trying to absorb everything at the time, trying to act professional with it as well, because as the stages progressed and they were getting towards the knockout stages, the qualifying, for the medals, they were hand-picking the volunteers that they thought was going to do the best job around the court as well. So I was having that consciously in my mind, thinking I've got to just stay professional. I don't want to be asking for photos or nagging any of the big pros there, but just standing beside the likes of Yao Ming, it was scary. There's no doubt about it. I was terrified a lot of the time.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
How tall is he? 7'3"?
No, 7'6".
7'6".
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, because there's a picture of him next to Shaq, isn't there? And you go, he makes Shaq look tiny. He's a big guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but because he was quite filled out compared to, say, someone like Wemby. So it's like that similar same height, but just he's filled out more, isn't he? So he's just a big guy.
And I think the key with what you were saying was it would be so easy, and I guess understandable in a way, when let's say you get the American team really early on. It would be really tempting to be like, can I have a quick autograph? Can I have a picture and all of that? But it's the people who are being professional and going, I've got a job here and I want to do it well, like what you were doing. They're the ones who, get asked to do those later stages.
Is 2012 the Redeem team? Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. Is that the Redeem team?
Don't think so.
Or was it 2008? Which one was it? The Redeem team?
That's got to be 2008. I reckon it was before 2012.
Yeah, I know there's one, and they didn't do very well, did they? So then they went guns blazing, didn't they? I'm just thinking because you said like LeBron and Kobe, you go, yeah, they were all, making sure they got some medals.
Oh yeah, they certainly did that.
Yeah, the Redeem team were not in London. Definitely not in London. I can't remember what Olympics it was, but it wasn't London.
No. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I think I was quite fortunate in respect to the fact that while I was in my first few days of training and picking up some of the games there, I saw other volunteers going to players asking for photos and bits and pieces, and then I saw the sort of team managers taking note of that and making sure that they weren't in that place so they could do it again. And it just straight away it made me think, I need to be professional, and I think that helped me become the person I am in regards to the volunteering side of it.
That is a double-edged sword though, especially if you go, Kobe's over there.
Yeah.
And it's like, is this one of the last games I'm going to believe in? Go, I'm going to get his autograph. I'm just going to get his autograph.
Well, I got a couple little stories. Once the gold medal had been won, I had a couple of moments where I thought it doesn't matter now. But
oh really? Yeah, go tell us. Yeah. Come on.
As soon as the gold medal was won, obviously USA won that. They were playing Spain in the final, and we were once they had finished the ceremony. We then had to do a job in regards to getting the tunnel ready for them to be able to, once they'd finished their debriefs, their showers, everything else, they'd then leave to get onto their team bus. USA were not staying in the Olympic Village. They were somewhere discreet, not letting anybody know. So we had to make sure the tunnel towards where their bus was completely clear. The day before this, I went and bought a Kevin Durant USA jersey and put it on underneath my uniform because I thought if there's anybody I want to meet and have a chance with, it was Kevin Durant at the time. So I was stood in the tunnel towards their bus waiting for these players to come out, and I just took my opportunity. So,
look at Mark's face. He loves that. He's like, what a great entrepreneur moment.
Yeah, if you tell me that was a Seattle top, I'll be even happier. But it
was the US day. I was there.
No, that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
You've just said something there. It's just made me think. The US basketball team going to the Olympics, and they weren't staying at the Village; they were staying elsewhere. They are possibly certainly the highest paid sports people probably at the whole Olympics. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I mean they got their security with them.
Yeah,
as well. But
like you think of everyone else, you go these are the world champion sprinters, canoeists, sailors, powerlifters, even probably the footballers. They literally are the highest profile and probably the highest paid out of everyone. Never really thought of that actually. In all of the sports that are in the Olympics.
Does the security, how close are they to the court? I mean, is it like the bodyguard for Messi where he's like running alongside the pitch as he's playing?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
The whole team had security around them, but they had individual security. So this can lead on to another story. I mean, this could go on forever, by the way.
Do it.
But there was one moment where he was a security guard who I thought was a security guard for the USA team at the time, who come up to me when I was courtside. They were during their warm-up before the game was starting in one of the games, and he come over to me and he asked me where the closest toilets are for the players. So I said, I can show you exactly where they're to. And he said, okay, wait there 1 second. And he went off onto the court, got Kobe Bryant, and come back over. And he said, can you show us where these, the restrooms are? So I was like, oh God, this is, trying to stay professional. I'm taking Kobe Bryant to the toilet right now. But yeah, so talking that while Kobe was doing his thing, I was talking to this security guard. Turns out he was a special agent directly employed just to look after Kobe Bryant, none of the rest of the team. So they all had their own individual security with them as well. Very, very surreal moment. In fact, that nice chap actually gave me a little pin badge which had the American flag and the special agent symbol on it, to say thanks for doing what I did for him as well, which was really cool. So I've got little mementos, things like that. Is brilliant.
Wow. At least you didn't walk in the cubicle after him. I mean, it could have gone horribly wrong. Just sitting there trying to be cool, chatting away. Next minute, you're like, what am I doing?
Hey,
I've got to get out.
No one was going in there when Kobe was in there.
No, absolutely
That
not.
was locked.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Just thinking of that, the player movements, just getting to the court and everything. You forget there's movement, obviously, within the village and everything as well.
Yeah, you just focus on the team, and then you think, hang on, they got security, okay, and they got individual security, and they're moving around, and when you actually start getting into it, it's absolutely huge. I did just look up the Redeem team was in 2008, and that was in the Beijing Olympics.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, because I know they did something because they were it was just purely because it was LeBron and everyone. They were thinking, was that one? But no, they came out with a hammer then, didn't they? But it's funny you say that, Craig, because Paul said it before when the things he does with the Portsmouth Force, that people will turn up just before it starts, see the event, and then they leave. They don't see the before, they don't see the setup, they don't see the after, they don't know the planning or anything that's involved in any of that sort of stuff. And you mentioned it being like half a day before building. Is that like a standard?
It depends on the event. It's the British Basketball League finals event, so we're talking the O2 Arena for the playoffs, or the Emirates Arena in Glasgow. It used to be for the trophy. Yep. Birmingham, those events there. Normally there's a court already in place. There's a wooden floor ready for you to decorate and make a basketball court. So when that's already down, it's more, there's at least half a day, if not longer, of putting vinyls down, making it look like the basketball court you want it to be.
And when you say is it just purely the wood when you turn up, and then you're actually marking like the 3-point line and the halfway line? You're doing that with the decals?
Yeah, on some of them, yes. So the one in the Emirates Arena was just a plain floor, and we'd have to line it, we'd have to put the keys in, everything, make a basketball court from a wooden surface, basically.
Oh, wow. Because we saw that
Go on, Mark.
We saw it recently, didn't we? Yeah, well, there's that one recently, wasn't there, where there was it was a 9 inches difference in the 3-point line in one of the, I think it was one of the NCAAs. It was 9 inches longer on one side than the other.
Craig was looking at that going, amateurs.
But
I should have flew you out there, Craig.
What tolerances do you have for that? Because obviously there's FIBA rules, and then there's different rules, and you have different lengths, and like 28 meters, etc. and things. But there's got to be a tolerance, I'm guessing, for when you're putting that out.
Yeah, there's tolerances for lines, there's tolerances for the height of the baskets, all sorts of things. But there's always an official that comes and checks it all before the game starts as well.
Oh, really?
So it has to be pretty close.
With the NCAA things, not just one person made a mistake. You reckon there's probably a few people made a mistake till it gets to the point where the coaches are going, hang on, and marking it with their feet. That must have been a few people then.
Yeah, I reckon, there'd be a couple that would be involved in making sure that it's correct, and if they didn't do their job properly, then that's where but the players are the first ones to tell you that it's wrong, because obviously they're used to those distances, they're used to the height of the basket, so they'll know if it's more than 10-15 mil out of place.
And can
as soon as they mention it.
So you say that the basket as well. So do you get that difference in the basket heights and stuff? Are they?
Yeah, you can get away with like 10 mil tolerance on a basket to make either side a 10 foot, but normally a player will be checking it out. That's one of the first things they'll do when they get onto that court to warm up. They'll jump up and grab that ring and go, hang on a minute, that didn't feel right, So then you're having to get the measure out, you get the laser out, get it all signed off again. There's a lot of politics, I guess.
Craig, if we got you some Talking Basketball podcast stickers, would you be able to tactfully get them on the court somewhere, or on the back of on the side of a backboard?
I can 100% put them on my backboards for my event. Don't know about the BBL ones though. The British Basketball League might not allow that.
No. But that's things like the sponsorship. You'd be putting all the sponsorship signs and stuff like that down as well on the actual court.
Yeah, that's right. There's quite a bit of branding that goes on. You certainly, obviously the British Basketball League design the layouts of the court anyway, and the sponsors go in place. You have to put all of those down. Normally we've got that plan. The British Basketball League's already come up, got a plan in front of you and everything, and they're ready to go. So we just have to then build it. So yeah, it's normally.
So I guess for people who won't understand, the vinyl everything you're talking about, how does it stay down, and how does it not peel up during games, or does stuff like that happen, for example?
The vinyl is literally a sticker, so you've got a paper back that you peel off, you stick the sticker down. There's a technique to burnishing it to get it on there, but then it's got like a soft pack residue, so once it's down it won't move, but you can peel it up pretty easily. Most of the time. There's been occasions where they don't come up very easily and you're taking up millimeters at a time. You could be there for hours.
Oh really?
Yeah, that's the best part of the job, taking it all up again after the event's finished.
Mark, can I say, I think it counts if we have a Talking Basketball podcast sticker on the court underneath a big sticker.
Yeah.
That still counts.
Yeah, you can put a little sticker, then absolutely, 100%. 100%.
I don't think ours would peel away nicely though. I think it would be one of those.
Yeah, maybe not. But that's really interesting, because you always don't want to say think of it, but when you look at some of the courts, in particular when they have very big stickers, like on the, I can't remember which one, I think it was the NBL where Paul was doing the Australia thing. A couple of the ones in the NBL, they had those, the whole top of the key, the circle in the key for doing the jump balls. They'd made them different colours, and then they had the big sponsor logos and everything in those. You think, is that got a different texture for the court? Because that must make a slight difference when if you're going into the key and you're up at the 3-point line, take a couple of steps in, you're treading on a different surface.
Yeah, I guess it definitely does have a different texture and different grip to just a standard court. I don't know if you remember when we had the COVID sort of spell and there was a whole year of no crowd. When they held the playoff finals, it was held in Leicester, and the keys were completely decaled. They had like orange to black fading colours across the key. We put them down, and they are a completely different feel to just your wooden surface. But I think players, when the teams, when they get to the finals events and they know they're on this big stage, they should be expecting to have that different feel already. In the centre circle takes up a lot of the middle part of the court, the decal there, so they get used to running on those different types of grips on the court anyway.
But you don't spend a lot of time in that centre part, do you? Obviously, when you have that big vinyl there, it's crossing to a certain point. But certainly that top of the key it makes me surprised that they sometimes you can have those stickers and you think, wow, it must feel different if you're making a move and you are relying on that sort of traction.
Yeah, I guess the ones in the key, the sort of more dominant areas where the players are going to be moving around on, the type of material used for those are slightly different to the ones you get in the centre circle, and they're all designed and tested to make sure that they're correct and got the correct type of grip for players to be turning on bits and pieces. But yeah, it's definitely a different feel. I've walked on it several times, played on it a little bit, and I think it's something you'd get used to, but it's just something that maybe you're not used to on a everyday regular basketball court.
So I tell you what, you just touched on something there. So once you set up, let's say, have you been involved in the London Lions one, let's say?
The Copper Box, I've done various basketball courts for, not directly for London Lions, but for the British Basketball League.
So at any point, has it all been set up and there's just a basketball there and you're like, right, I'm now playing in the Copper Box? Because that would be awesome, wouldn't it? No one's around and you can just shoot around in there.
Quite often we would be finishing 8-9 o'clock at night, the night before the event, and at that point we'd just be clearing the rubbish out the way, just trying to get everything in place ready for the morning for us to start the event. And at that point there, sometimes we'll have a 15-20 minute break just to have a cup of coffee.
That's brilliant.
Something to eat. I don't normally go for that. I normally grab a basketball and just get a few shots up, just to have a go. The O2 Arena is probably one of my most favourite venues because it's an iconic venue. So once you're on that court and there's a hoop in front of you with a ball, somewhere around, I'm grabbing that ball. I'm going to have a little go.
And you can say you've scored in the O2.
Yeah, testing.
Yeah.
Testing purposes. Testing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's brilliant.
So when we were interviewing Paul Blake, one of the things he was saying to us was about that tape, wasn't he, Paul, with the that was like wood grain looking tape, because to go over the
wood effect, to go over the lines.
I can't even say the word badminton, but to go over those lines. And is that the same sort of thing, the same sort of process when you talk about?
Yeah, so a lot of the British Basketball League finals are on a dedicated basketball court, a wooden surface with no other lines on. So it's not often you need to do that. But there has been other events where we have had to, you've got multi-court lines everywhere. So it's badminton, football, all the other lines. And you've got to get rid of them. So yeah, there's a wood effect tape that we use. Normally it comes on, 1 meter wide, 8 meter length sort of stuff, and you've got to cut it to shape. That takes a bit of time, obviously, but then you have to bend it around all those lines, get all the other colours of the court off. So once the fans see it, all they see is a basketball court. They don't see all the other lines. Yeah.
It's amazing when you see it and you think, oh, that actually has got the tape over it, and when you start looking at it, you think, oh, I'm looking for it, but otherwise you won't see it. It just blends in, doesn't it? So what?
Especially on the TV and stuff like that. That's when, like, we were looking at who was it? I think was it Leicester's game? I can't remember what one it was. I think it might have been Leicester. Maybe it was Newcastle.
Cheshire.
But we were looking at it, and it was like, oh, hang on. When you zoom in, you're going, oh, okay, I can see it. But when you're watching the game, you don't really notice it at all.
Yeah. So part of the British Basketball League's rules and stipulations are that they can't have any of the other lines on the court because it's all being live streamed now. So
great rule.
That should be celebrated. Great rule.
Great rule.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree with it as well. But when they brought that in, I live down south, and I was asked to go and tape all the lines at Bristol for Bristol Flyers, because they have you can't believe the amount of lines there are on that court. It's unbelievable. But I went there and showed them how to do it, so that they could, they had their volunteers helping me, and I was showing them how to bend it, because obviously you've not just got straight lines, you've got lots of curved lines that you've got to tape down as well. So there's a technique to be able to bend the tape to get it around all the curved lines. So I was teaching them how to do that the first time, and now obviously they took over the reins and do that for every game now. So they have to get volunteers in, tape those lines, and then at the end of the game, take them all back up again. So
obviously some of these venues, as you say, have a dedicated basketball court, and they don't have to worry about that, and others do play in communal places where they've got all these other multi-sport lines, because we obviously have people listening around the world who have different things, and some places have just basketball courts, so they must be thinking we're crazy having all these other things on there. But if there was someone in that position, and we'd say, talk about Bristol for now, if they want to make the next step up with a court, what would they do? What's the next thing that they go to?
Get rid of badminton lines. First step.
There's a couple different options, really. I mean, there's things called a Terraflex floor, which is like a rollout rug, basically, with a felt backing that you can lay it on top of a wooden floor, and you can have that designed to how you want it, and it's just a case of laying it in place, ready to go.
I think I've seen that somewhere. It looked like, I want to say like a carpet, but it was like something that they'd laid down.
Yeah, Surrey Scorchers use a Terraflex floor in Guildford, and it comes in sections, and underneath it you tape the joints together underneath with a tool, so it butts up nice and close. And once it's down, it's just a dedicated basketball court, and they find having that saves a lot of time, not having to worry about all the multi-court lines underneath it, and they just put that down.
And what's the bounce like on something like that then compared to a wooden floor?
Yeah. It's always slightly different, definitely a little bit different, but it's the same for both teams, I guess. You do get used to it. It's no, there's no detriment to the way the ball bounces. It just feels slightly different. It makes a slightly different tone, I guess, when it bounces.
Okay, so you don't have to change like how much you inflate the ball or anything like that?
No, not at all, no.
Okay, so then Terraflex, there it is. They roll that out and they say, okay, now we want to do the next stage. What would that be?
Well, I guess it's endless, right? You can bring on a big event and make it as big as your budget allows, I guess. But courtside LED advertising boards are now one of the new things that's definitely becoming bigger. That's something that I think is quite crucial because it adds the effect. Center decals, getting your branding on that court, making it look smart as well is pretty cool.
And having those courts, we've seen, I guess I want to say nice transition, but very recently we had that court that Paul really liked, which was in the the in-season tournaments, where they had all the different colours.
Oh God!
Were you a fan of that, Craig?
If you want my honest opinion, I couldn't stand them.
What did you not like about them?
I think it was just far too bright. There was colour clashes all over the place, which I found, from a spectator's point of view, I found it difficult to see quite a lot. And so I hate to think how the players felt when they were on the court.
Some were quite distracting. There were a few that I quite liked, though, that I just thought that just looks different. But I think one of the things that I was going to ask you this, I'm interested in what your opinion is. There was a lot of... I don't know if the word complaint is the right thing, but a lot of reports about the actual paint that was used for the color was quite slippery. And it was affecting the actual gameplay.
Yeah, I guess it could have been the same quality of paint and same texture as they use for a lot of the NBA courts for the center logos. They're all painted on in the NBA, by the way. There's no vinyls at all. The possibility it was the same paint, but the fact that it was done across the whole court is probably what made the difference, and they had no choice but to be running on that the whole way. So it probably felt very different for them.
So what about the All-Star court then? The LED light up. Paul said to me, okay. They've got this court where it's going to be showing movie. I'm thinking, no, that's ridiculous. And then when
we were talking about it 6 months ago, weren't we?
Yeah, and he said, I thought, who's going to do that? And then they announced they're doing it at the All-Star. You think, no, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Have you walked on one, Craig, of those?
No, I haven't. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos of teams using them. LED courts, glass courts with LEDs in it, all sorts of things happening now, isn't there?
It'd be interesting what the feel would be like, the bounce, if it's similar.
Yeah, something I think you can only only have an opinion on once you've had a go at it. A bit like the airless ball that they've come out with now as well. Meant to be just as good. I just couldn't have an opinion on it until I've had a go. I think that.
Yeah, you got to pay $2,500 for it to get an opinion.
Yeah, on that.
Was it 2.5 or $4 grand?
Yeah, it was 2.5, wasn't it? Last time it was up there, but that I know with the multi-sport scenario, those I want to say LED glass courts, there it's a great idea because you can then go and say, right, now it's pure basketball, bang, then everything else is gone. That's good. And then what you can do is go into the software and delete all the other profiles, so only basketball's on there. So that could be a win. But you could see where it worked, and compared to like concrete, the old-fashioned sort of tiled floors that you have in some sports gyms, it probably is better than that. But just having all these adverts and things swooshing and everything underneath when people are scoring, it was pretty horrific.
Well, I think the halftime shows and the intro shows, that's where it absolutely excelled, wasn't it? Because it just became it was endless, isn't it? You could create a huge canyon on the court, if you know what I mean. You'd be looking down there. It was just, that's where it was like, wow, this is very cool. But I don't know, my view, similar to what Craig just said, is just like, I'm curious what it feels like for the players. If it's firm, bouncy, or what, I don't know.
But doing some of those things as well for the people who are watching it at home is one thing, but the people who are there to enjoy it, that's a different experience. And then the people playing against different experiences. I guess that's the advantage of a wood floor. It's kind of, everyone knows what to expect. You know what your viewing experience is going to be. The players know what it's going to be. It's sort of
and it's a standard, isn't it? But one of the things Craig said to me once, and I was like, oh, right. And I was just fascinated with how he was telling me, was he said he built the court, but it would take like 3 hours to actually build it. And it comes in loads of small panels. That's what you were saying, almost like pallets. And then you like using special tools to bring it all together. And so how many panels, like what's that like if you have to build that picture?
I guess it depends on which courts we're talking about. So for example, in the O2 arena, we use, in the British Basketball League playoff final, we'll use the old NBA court that was here for the NBA Global Games. And the O2 arena, normally their staff will have that being laid and built overnight before we arrive, because you don't get a build day at the O2 because of the cost of hiring that event, hiring the venue. We have to do everything first thing in the morning before the event is around. So
really?
Nice early start. Yeah, normally we'll be in there at 5 o'clock in the morning, starting off with a floor ready to put the decals down. We'll be finishing that last bit just before doors open, and then straight into event mode. It's chaos. It's chaos. There's no doubt about it. But it's great fun, and I love that pressure, and I think that actually is part of the reason why I do. I'm addicted to it, I guess. But yeah, we quite often will get there, and they might not have half the court down by the time we arrive, and you're there to do a job, and the court's not down, so all you can do is jump on and give them a hand, get that court down. And they come on, the actual wooden panels for the court are probably, I'd say they're about 2 meters by about 800 mil in size, but it will take you 4 people to lift one. They are extremely heavy. Once they're in place, you're not moving them. And they've got a bit of a lock-in system where there's like a pin and a ring, and you hook the pin with the ring of the next tile, slide it in place, and give it a hammer, and it locks in. So there's a little bit of a process with them, and it does take a whole team of people. They're quite complex, but that's what the wooden ones are like. I've laid several different courts. I've got an outdoor mobile court myself, and that one is plastic tiles, which is a bit like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. It just clicks in place, and it's like I said, like a jigsaw.
Look at Mark's face. He was like, Mark's face. I'll tell you right now. He was like,
you've got your own.
You've got your own basketball court.
Yeah, it's a bit of a story behind that one.
Why was this not mentioned first, Craig? Why have you got a basketball court?
How that come about? So after obviously all the Olympic side of thing, I got in, met people through the British Basketball League, got involved with them, found out that I had a new love in a different aspect of basketball, and that was volunteering, getting involved in the event running side of it, not just turning up and playing, but giving other people opportunities to play by creating these events. And I then went on and thought, in the summer, looking for something to do locally, I thought I'd put on my own 3-on-3 summer tournament. And the first year, we held that down a little multi-court outdoor area in my local town, and we only had about 8 teams turn up. But after running events, I knew what I needed to do to make it attractive. I had DJs and good MC, keeping the atmosphere alive, made it really entertaining, made it a great tournament for those 8 teams. And straight away they were like, you need to do this every year. So the next year we ended up with 12 teams, 14 teams. It grew and grew, went up to about 20 teams, and then we outgrew the multi-court area. So I then decided the best step forward was to get a portable basketball court and lay it in a car park where we've got an indoor. So basically where my local club runs from, a school just up the road, we've got an indoor basketball court there, but a giant car park outside. And I thought, I wanted to keep it outdoors because of that urban feel to 3-on-3. I thought, if I can transform this car park into a basketball court, we've got the indoor facility right there for people to warm up on. We've got the changing room facilities. Everything's local. It's nice and easy. So I looked into how I could go about that, and I hired a portable mobile basketball court from a company up in Sheffield. They did me a deal. I went and got it, brought it down, laid it, put the lines on because it was just one colour tile, so once it was in place, I had to put the lines on, put the baskets in, and yeah, it turned into all I can describe as a masterpiece, really. We transformed a car park into this amazing basketball tournament area, and from that moment on, it just went mental. We had teams coming from Europe to play in this tournament. It's really good, and it's been recognised by quite a few people around the country now, which is really, really cool. But it was costing me a lot of money. Every year I'd be out of pocket for the sake, because of this court. And I thought the best way I can overcome this, knowing that I'm going to do this tournament every year, I thought I just wanted to think about the best way, efficiency wise, to make this happen. And I decided the best thing to do was to purchase my own portable basketball court and save that expense of going to Sheffield to hire one every year, and I'll just recoup it back through the tournament.
Now, most people, Craig, at this point, they're thinking, oh, portable basketball court, that's like the little one that's got the wheels that you put the water and the sand in, roll it to the end of your drive and just pop it out. There's your portable basketball court. No, you went for a full basketball court that just happens that you can break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Full court, 30-metre basketball court. It's got a 2-metre black runoff on it. I wanted it to look real.
You've got a runoff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-metre runoff. Yeah, definitely.
Ask him where he stores it.
Please tell me it's in your garage.
At home.
Is it
It's
really?
not going to fit in my garage. I've got a 40-foot container in my back garden. Basically, everything's in there.
Oh, that's brilliant. Mate, that's
The other
dedication,
half must have loved that.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's that? Are you gonna make a swimming pool? No, the basketball court's going in there.
Yeah. What basketball court? Oh, yeah, that's the best bit. I just bought a basketball court. I mean, yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. So, I mean, how do you do that in terms of the I'm just trying to think logistically, just getting it all together and...
Yeah, it took time.
How do you transport it?
Well, yeah, this is all it. So, knowing, obviously, I knew how the one from Sheffield got transported around, and you'd have to hire a big Arctic lorry to be able to transport it. There was no way I was going to be doing that and parking that on my drive. So, what I've done is I bought.
Are you sure?
Yeah, why not?
Just park it outside.
You've got a container. You've got a basketball court. just get a low loader with a crane on the back. Yeah. Job done.
If only. It would be a lot easier than the way I do it, I think.
Come on, let's have it.
Yeah, so the actual court itself, what I do is I break it down into 1 meter squares. So it comes 250 mil squares. There was over 9,000 of those. So it wasn't easy to be able to just keep ripping all of them up individually. So I thought what I'll do is break it down into 1 meter squares, build some pallet containers that they can be stored in. So I've got them in, sort of 8-foot pallet containers, and they take up 4 of those. So I've designed them so they can be picked up with a forklift, and I've bought myself, invested in some trailers and a couple of vans.
Well, I think we both thought you were going to say forklift then.
I bought a forklift. That gets it from back garden to front garden.
Fortunately, I have a very, very helpful father who has a tractor with forks, and he will come and unload it out of the container, put it on the trailers, and then, so it's all we're ready to go.
I couldn't have made that up if you had tried. I mean,
Mark, it gets better. It gets better. Craig, tell him about your actual rings.
So I've got 2 of the official pro hoops, like you'd see in the British Basketball League, those type hoops. I used them.
Yep.
I was very, very fortunate to be able to almost be gifted 2 of those.
Amazing.
They're like gold. There was a venue in Southampton actually that was being knocked down, and a new venue being built not that long ago, a few years ago.
Are we allowed to say the team?
I
was
guess
that too much? So we're talking about Fleming Park. So this is the Solent Stars. So the rings the Solent Stars are playing on.
Really?
And they were just going to be destroyed.
Yeah. So what they did is they built the new venue right alongside the old one before they knocked the old one down, and they blocked the big roller doors where these rings could have been exiting the building with the new building. So they couldn't actually get them out. So what they were going to do is just cut them up with an angle grinder and throw them in the skip. So I pleaded with the builders, with everybody there, and said, if you please just give me 1 day access, I will take these things apart into pieces and we'll take them out, load them on a lorry and take them out your way. And with all the the health and safety requirements, the risk assessments, everything else I had to complete, they eventually allowed me in for a day, and I literally did that. I took them all apart, took them home, rebuilt them.
They said to the Craig, they said, right, you got access from 8 p.m. and we're coming in 6 a.m. If you can do it in that time, be sure. And he was like, no worries.
I mean,
this is what I do.
That is shocking.
I would have done that.
That is shocking. Like, they're just going to just rip that up and then job done. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the builders wouldn't care. They don't care. It's basketball rings. But I mean, those were really nice rings as well. And there is the history of those rings. That when you told me that story, it was the history behind that. So you have arguably one of the greatest BBL players, and Alan Cunningham, he would have shot on that ring. Yeah. So, you'd be shooting on a ring saying, I've shot on the same ring as Alan Cunningham. All the other Solent Stars that have gone, and played on there. All the teams that have gone down the road to end up in Fleming Park, they would have all played on there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, I'm not sure how old those actual rings are, but you know what I mean? For me, that's how I look at those baskets, with all that Solent Star history.
Yeah, they've definitely got some history in them. There's no doubt about that. I think anybody who will know where they've come from will probably have that same feel as you have. There's no doubt. Yeah.
So
how hard was it to dismantle all that? Like, did it take you like literally a whole day? Because I vaguely remember you saying like, I didn't know what to do. I just kind of trying to learn it as you looked at it and went, right, I'll take this off and go from there.
Up until that point, I'd never even set any eyes or taken a shot on a professional basketball system. Just playing local league or whatever. It was all the hoops that had just bolted to the walls, and it was strange. Yeah, I had to just get there with a toolbox and work it out while I was there. Fortunately, I've got a very mechanically minded father. he helps me. He supports me with all my mad ideas that I come up with basketball. He'll help me with it. He's the brains behind it all, really, I guess.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, we went there. We hired a 7.5 ton truck and took our toolbox, and we just went to work on it.
That's so good. So what is, without getting into too much detail, what sort of ballpark do you have to invest? If someone said to me, hey, I want to get a court like that and do something, what is it that what are those sort of outdoor courts go for? They're like,
I would say those rings in particular, they must be about at least 25 grand each for the rings, just the rings.
I think you could possibly pick up ones. I mean, it all comes down to what quality you're looking for in regards to the court as well as hoops. There's lots of different grades that you can go for. But I think those hoops there you can probably get, if you were to be able to pick them up brand new now, you'd probably be looking at maybe 15,000, something like that each.
And that's ring,
it was
not backboard, just the ring.
That's the whole.
Or the whole system. Yeah.
That's like the box and the bit coming up to the ring.
The weight blocks, everything that goes with it.
15,000. Wow.
That's just for the rings, Mark. That doesn't include the actual floor.
No. I'm just saying that's, when you're looking at that sort of thing, that's crazy, isn't it?
I tell you what, I can't help laughing, but like Craig's other half, it was like originally, okay, you bought a ring, or where it started, and it's like, oh, okay, there's a container at the back. Oh, right, okay, what's that for? Oh, that's for the basketball court going in. Okay, oh, I've got some rings. The next thing is like, what's this? Yeah, I've bought a basketball arena. We're building it, so just take out all the travel.
She doesn't understand what all the blocks are about yet. They're on the pallets outside of the container.
I mean, that is, that fair play to you. I mean, I can see why you were like, we just got to go and get that, because why not just take that opportunity? That's and it's fantastic to hear they've been saved. So kudos to you, for you and your dad, for doing that, because that's really, like Paul said, a piece of history. It's nice that's living on and doing what's meant to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, go on, Craig.
I was just going to say, I've never been afraid of hard work, and sometimes things like that happen, and you've got to put a bit of graft in. You can't be afraid to get hands on and make things happen sometimes. And it was one of those moments. If I didn't get my hands dirty and go for it, it would never have happened. So it's got to be done sometime.
So then the next year you went to that setup and you went, right, we've got a court, we got brand new rings, and then that's it. Like that's it. Yeah. That's a completely different ball game.
There's no outgoing there other than getting it there, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So the whole idea really behind buying that court as well, obviously the rings came, the court came, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to now say, why not help others be able to. We've got a basketball court we can put anywhere in the country. You just need a flat playing surface. And the idea was give other people opportunities to be able to create events and make other things happen where they've not had the opportunity before, and make it affordable for them to do it. So that's happened a few times as well. We've hired out our services a little bit to give people opportunity to use it elsewhere around the country as well.
Can you try and sort out? Paul knows some people in the Navy. Can you try and sort out, go on the aircraft carrier, we'll put it on the top deck and play a game against the Navy on the top deck? That'd be amazing.
That'd be really cool on an aircraft carrier.
That, on the aircraft carrier, that's big enough flat space, they could do that easily.
Craig could do that easily.
The NBA put a floating court in the Thames, didn't it? So why not?
Yeah, and well, Luca did that on Lake Bled, didn't he? He did a court on Lake, and when you watch it, it's all floating up and down, and I think it looks really cool, but I don't think they enjoyed the experience of jumping up and down on that too much.
No.
Wow. So,
I tell you, it just popped in my mind. There is history in Portsmouth playing on aircraft carriers. You know that, right? This is where, like, you get all the American ships and stuff like that coming into town. And I mean, they would always contact the local basketball team. So it would usually go on through Mick. Mick told me one story once where he took a team onto an American aircraft carrier, and they had the rings. They, I don't know if it was chalk or whatever, and that's it. They played on an aircraft carrier, and it's like, wow, that is so cool. Like, I was like, that is like a once in a life experience. He goes, yeah, I think we've done it a few times.
I mean, that'd be like a Nimitz class, so they're massive, even compared to the ones we've got. They're different. So I think even Ford class, maybe they're just the biggest boats on the ocean. But yeah, that's why I was saying it, because I remember you told me about it and thinking that would be a cool thing to do. The Navy, invested in basketball, so why not?
It'd be a great PR moment, wasn't it? We the last time the Americans came to town and we actually did anything with that, it was the USS Roosevelt, and that's one of the largest aircraft carriers in the US Navy. And I was getting this email from one of the crew members on board ship, and I was just like, what's this guy going on about? I was like, and I just thought it was junk. I just thought, what's this? And then the emails came in quicker and quicker, and I was like, hang on, this might be legit. And they were like, yeah, we won a game against the Portsmouth Fury at the time. I was like, oh, okay. And then it became like, hang on, this is a real thing here. They, this USS Roosevelt wants to play the Fury. And the game was coming up, and then I looked up this shit and I realized there was like 5,000 crew members on board. Just in the Navy, and then like 500 fleet arm, or what, I don't know, aircraft people, whatever. I don't know if we I guess we would call them fleet arm, wouldn't we? And then I just realized that, hang on, 5,500 Americans against the Portsmouth Fury. It was like, hang on, I need to get a few ringers in here. So yeah, that's what we did. We had a few of the Fury players, a few of the Smugglers players. I think we got a few players from Southampton as well, and yeah, we took them on. I think we won by two or four in the end. But yeah, that was great.
What an experience!
Well, it was a great experience. But one thing, just going back to what you said, and this is what I actually love about Craig, Mark, is he's an absolute why not guy. Like, I'm doing this, why not? I'm going to go and buy a bar. He's just like an absolute yes man, isn't he? I need a basketball court. Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't care about the hard work. I'm going to go get it. I got an opportunity for rings. Bam. Right. I'm going to go get it. Now I've got rings. And it's just building this event and building everything up. And then I guess opening your profile to opportunities coming in.
So what was the event called? What was the event called again, Craig?
My event. It's Bridport 3-on-3.
Okay.
Held right down on the south coast. It's got quite good reputation now. We get teams, like I say, we've had a few teams come from Germany, Holland, places across Europe. Predominantly UK-based teams will come down and play in it, but it's quite a high level. We've had a few British Basketball League players turn up and play in it. But I think it's the atmosphere that I'm creating with it. I was always, when I was younger, I was a big White Men Can't Jump fan. That was my go-to film when I was a kid, and I just wanted to create that urban type feel, that atmosphere when you're playing outdoor basketball, but in the sunshine, having fun with it, but make it competitive.
Is that using the FIBA yellow and blue 3-on-3 ball?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But we've been invited to do a live podcast.
Yeah.
At the 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah, 100%. If you can hear us over the crowd, obviously cheering really loud. Yeah, I've never been a fan of that yellow and blue. I can see why they do it, because visually you can see it and it's much easier than that sort of thing. I don't know what it is. I just don't like the yellow in the colour. Just the blue. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
I guess they like to, they wanted to separate the fact that 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 are a different sport maybe as well, and give it its whole new look so it didn't blend in with the 5-on-5 game. So it's all part and parcel of that. And the fact that the ball's, it's a size 6, not size 7, but the weight of a size 7. So it's there for, players to really show their individual performances as well. which I think 3-on-3 is quite good for them to express that.
And do you see many players that, like you're saying about British Basketball League players, for example, if they go in and play in 3-on-3, they must find it quite difficult because there's a different, I'm not saying like relaxation around certain people carry sometimes in 3-on-3s. It can be fair to say, especially in a street ball element. And sometimes the defense is a little bit more physical as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that when players do that and they come from something like a league play into that sort of thing, it can be a difficult transition?
I think certainly the ones I'm going through past experience here, they turn up already prepared for that. I think they already know they're entering a 3-on-3 tournament. They know what to expect already. They know it's going to be different. They know the referees are going to let different things go, and it's a different style of basketball. And I think most of them will be coming prepared, ready for that already. So, yeah.
Craig, what do you do at the tournament? Do you put a team in yourself? Are you playing, or do you just focus on the organisation?
I tend to fall asleep in the corner somewhere because all my work's done by then. No, I have played in my own tournament actually. I've got a very, very good crew around me who volunteer every year. They want to be involved in the tournament. They will come and work tirelessly for the event. And because they're so good at their job now, it makes my job very easy, and I can just sit back and just oversee everything, make sure it's all running to time, and everyone's happy, having a good time. Spend a lot of the day talking to people. Obviously there's 150, 200 basketball players there, all like-minded people, enjoying the day. So it's just brilliant to see everybody having fun and with that sport that we love, and just making sure everybody's happy with it.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So in terms of booking up for doing other events, how do people do that through you then? Do they contact you directly, or how's that work?
So with regards to the Bridport 3-on-3 one, I advertise it on social media. Once I release the date, I then let them know that there's going to be a booking form for them to click on with a link, and then we go from there. I don't normally need to worry too much about advertising for it because I'm already getting teams. Even for this year, I've not announced it yet when it's going to be, but I've had 10, 12 teams already contacting me individually saying, when's it going to be? We want to get the time off work ready for it, or then it normally fills up pretty quickly. So I just announce it on social media when I'm ready, really.
Do you have any teasers that you could indicate roughly when you think it might be, or are you just trying to iron that out at the moment?
I can 100% tell you when it's going to be. It's going to be the August bank holiday this year, the end of August.
There we go, an exclusive August bank holiday. Fantastic. Yeah. And August 1, that's usually a really nice, bright, sunny one.
Yes. So what I've done, I've held it. I'm going to eat my own words a little bit here. The August bank holiday is my wedding anniversary weekend as well, and I've every now and again I might change the tournament to be the end of July rather than the end of August because I might have other plans personally. And every time we've held it in July, it's rained, so it's been a nightmare for us to run. Every time I've held it in August, it's been beautiful sunshine.
That's dedication.
August.
Craig's like, darling, I got you a great gift this anniversary. What? 3-on-3 basketball tournament. You got front row seats. Let's go.
Yeah, you got to get that forklift though and just help me with the loading first. Yeah. So do you sticker it all up and everything is once you've laid it all down? Talk us through that. How do you set that tournament up then?
Yeah, so I mean, the actual court itself, like I said, it's a click-in tile type system. I don't put stickers on this. I got it designed to the color I wanted anyway. So it's got black keys, it's got black perimeter, and the rest of the court's blue with white lines.
Nice.
And that was the color theme for the tournament. So I wanted to keep it like that. I've not actually got to a point where I'm putting center decals or anything down because it's 3-on-3 tournament. They're just playing down each end. We've got 2 games going at the same time. And that whole center area is used for people to stand around and watch the games rather than anything else. So I don't tend to put any stickers down, but we have advertising boards around the outside. We've got feather flags everywhere, and there's decals on the backboards and the paddings of the hoops. It gets branded. It gets a lot of branding.
I mean, it looks really cool. I was just having a quick, I was just having a quick.
It looks really, really professional.
It looks really good. I can see what you're saying with the tile, where they're the small tile, but you break it down into certain bits as well.
It looks like something you would see on TV, doesn't it, when you see the court?
Yeah.
Well, of course it does, because Craig does courts that you see on TV.
Yeah, that is very, very cool. And how does that compare in terms of like feel for a court? Because obviously you're putting that onto outside, it's concrete. So is there anything between that, or was it?
No. So it goes straight on top of a tarmac car park. Literally, that is it. I sweep the all the loose chippings away from the tarmac, and then I lay that court on the top of it. It's a different feel to a wooden court. I think when you've got players who play normal indoor basketball as well, and then they get on that court for the first 5 minutes, I think you're always a little bit skeptical on whether you trust the court when you're moving around on it, because it's a portable court, and if you stop really quickly after a fast run, the court might warp a little bit when you stop. Not much, but I have seen it do it. But it takes a little bit of confidence to actually trust the court, I think, when you're not used to it.
And it's
good.
And that, having that type of thing with a court as well, if that is like you say, because obviously the size of it and the weight of it obviously anchors it for the most part. There's a little bit of movement there, but it must be similar to when people go on like an athletics track or something where those things are quite tacky and they're spongy, and for the first time people are like, oh, this is not how I'm used to running on a concrete or indoor again. So it's just adjusting to that, like the tennis players do as well, don't they, with clay and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it's something that you're just not used to, so it feels different. Might feel a bit unnatural for a little while, but we, every year we might have new players there, and they'll go, well, this is, it takes them a while, 5-10 minutes to get used to it, but once they've been on it for, through the first game, they're absolutely loving it. It's fine.
And obviously, you said it goes on a car park. I'm just curious that not all car parks are necessarily flat and level.
No. Yeah, I mean, I would recommend it staying on a nice flat surface. A proper tarmacked floor is perfect for it. I've laid it in an event at Cardiff Bay for an event that was held up there that I was asked to supply the court for, and they wanted it laid in front of the Pierhead building. I don't know if you know the Pierhead building. It's a really old, like almost cathedral-looking building right on Cardiff Bay, and right in front of it, they've got a load of cobblestones in squares, and they wanted it laid on top of this, and immediately I could see it was going to be an issue because the cobbles obviously, they rose in different heights all over the place. You knew if the ball was going to bounce on them, it was going to go different directions, and so I got a load of like 6mm rubber matting and just put that over the top of everything first, and then laid the court over the top of that, and it just solidified the sort of balance of the whole area, and the ball would bounce better on it then as well. So there is ways of getting over little differences in the way of the playing surface, but in an ideal world you want a nice flat surface.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting that you can, like you say, you can just make a count for that, because some places obviously might have dips where there's wheel arches. I guess if it's a car park, for example, you get after a while people are always parking the same way, sort of thing, so you get wear marks, don't you? That's pretty cool. And then you literally, once you've set that all up, then it's like, right, you have your tournament, I'll be sleeping over there.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something to be done. There's no doubt about that. But like I say, I've got a nice crew who come and help all the time. MC, DJ, table officials. My wife's part of that. She does the table as well. But we've got loads of those referees, and then people. We put on a barbecue, so we supply, drinks and food and bits and pieces there as well. So I've got people looking after that area, just all over, maintenance people, in case with the rings, in case I've had one of the rings snap before.
Oh no.
So during the middle of the tournament, on the first day, because it was a 2-day event, someone went up for a dunk, pulled the ring down, and the hooks that hold it inside, they sheared off, and the thing was just basically hanging. Wow. Yeah, that was had to really think fast on that one, and I just unbolted the hoop, took it home, got my dad in the workshop, we welded it all back together, put it back up again, and it was good to go again within the space of about an hour. So, yeah.
That is a bloody quick turnaround time.
Yeah, that's a really quick.
Being in a tournament, bam, hour later, you're back in business. Wow.
Yeah.
Dad, what are you doing? Nothing, son. Good. I've got a challenge for you. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part, but do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.